welcome back to the Motor Show. So, the topic of censorship keeps coming up, and so does the topic of erasing America's monuments for stupid, arbitrary reasons. It's kind of funny because the monuments that are erected were of Democrats, and now the Democrats are trying to tear down their own monuments as some sort of, distance from their party's past. I really hate the topic of Democrats and race. I cannot stand it because they're the party of the Ku Klux Klan. They were the party that were pro-slavery, and it's funny how they'll cover up their past. They won't tell you these things, and then when you find out for yourself, they try to tell you, well, there was a big switch, so now we are the party of pro-sovereignty. I almost said pro-slavery. They still are the party of pro-slavery, though, honestly. If you know anything about the Democrat plantation and how it all works and how they basically give everybody a little slice of freedom and just enough to keep them happy but not enough to really make them free, then you know that the Democrats never really changed their tune. The thing about the big switch, and you can look this up, is that it was only one senator that switched. Strom Thurmond. He was the only senator that switched to the Republican Party. And they account this as, this radical switch. The idea is that in the 70s, many racist Democrats went to become Republicans and changed the party forever for the Republicans. It's not true. If you look at the voting demographics of the Republican Party, every single time there's been something like the Civil Rights Act, it was primarily supported by the Republicans. Yet, because there were a couple loudmouth Democrats, all of a sudden that becomes a staple for how the Democratic Party is the new party of, for minorities. Today's episode is going to have to do with this sign over here, by the way. This is the Hamilton family sign. It's a conservative sign that basically just says little tidbits of, I would say logic. It kind of pokes fun at the Democratic Party. I know somebody in my life, quite a few people that I don't know, but one person that I do know, one liberal stupid, who he always calls us right-wing stupid, so I have to kind of return the favor to him and call him a liberal stupid. But he wants to take that sign down because he calls it brainwashing and hate speech. And if you've read anything on the sign, you know that nothing of the sort is true. Last week it said, slavery is peaceful, freedom is dangerous. It was satire. It was poking at the idea that, if you're a slave, there's no war. There's no hostilities, really. Everything is planned out for you and everything. And freedom, that's a random thought, so that's dangerous. You don't want freedom. It was joking. It was satire. And everything else that the sign says, it's usually poking at the Democrats and their tax policies in this state, which are terrible. In fact, they changed the slogan this week to say, how much of your tax dollars did you get, or how much of your earnings did you get to keep of last year? So it's saying that the taxes are too high. And this is what my idiot neighbor, I almost said his name, I'm not going to say his name because, I don't want to be completely slandering him, but this is what my idiot neighbor thinks is racist. I caught him on a forum the other day, and a couple of my other classmates were on there too. Some were agreeing with him, but, they didn't really add to the conversation. They were just liking his comments. I had one of my classmates who I always argue with was actually arguing on the side of logic and reason, and that's that he has no right to take this sign down or sign a petition. Now, this sign has been it's been in the public eye for a little while in the idea of censoring it. There have been quite a few attempts. There was a court case over it, and the court ruled that the Hamilton family was in the right to keep their sign. And that should be the end of it. That's what my classmate tried to point out to my neighbor, was that, hey man, there was a court case about it, and it's been done with. It's over. There's no more conversation to be had here. Let it go. But my neighbor continued to go on and say that it was an illegal sign, that it's obstructing, that it's against the Scenic Vistas Act, as if there's anything scenic that it's blocking. It's not blocking the mountains. It's not blocking anything other than a couple trees behind it. So, he's an idiot. And then later he goes on to further elaborate that if he's not allowed to have his political point of view posted on the highway, a sign for pro-Bernie. Yes, by the way, that's right. He's still pro-Bernie even after all the bullshit that Bernie Sanders has done, even after the bank fraud. He's still pro-Bernie. Too funny. But he's saying that if he's not allowed to have his point of view posted on the highway, then they shouldn't. So again, it's purely political. It's because he disagrees with the sign and he wants to take it down. Well, this is absolutely absurd. I mean, first of all, he's on there saying on this forum, well, the sign is promoting brainwashing. It's making the right-wing stupids dumber and brainwashing them, and it's also racist. He actually said that it was a racist sign. Now, the whole thing that brought my attention to this, it's not that I stalk him or anything. I had one of my other friends tell me all about my neighbor. He was running his mouth over the sign, and so I had to see it for myself. So I went and I hunted it down, and I had trouble finding it, so I had to have somebody else find it for me, and they posted a link to it. And I guess originally, and this is just what was told to me, I don't know if it's true, but he was on there saying that him and his friends were going to tear that sign down if the state didn't. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but it does seem like something he would say. He's not really a person of action. He always talks a big, tough game, but he's one of those basement dwellers, literally lives in his parents' basement. Basement dwellers that just sits around and plays games all day and smokes pot. And I don't have anything against people who smoke weed, but this kid is very much like your classic political liberal stoner. He continues to say the same thing over and over and over again. It's funny that he thinks that this sign is brainwashing people, because he's the type of person who, Occupy Democrats all the way, and I don't know if he watches CNN and MSNBC, but if you've been watching them lately, or at all in the last, I don't know, probably decade, maybe even longer, you want to talk about brainwashing, they're the place to start. I'm coming up to one of my deliveries here, so I'm going to cut the camera, and I'll come right back. We'll get into CNN and MSNBC here in a moment. Before I go into CNN and MSNBC and their brainwashing crap, my neighbor's stupid claims of how hypocritical he is, I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about censorship as a whole anyway. This subject kind of annoys me because I know so many people, and I could easily say that yes, it's on both sides. And, oh, there we go. I made that claim that it's on both sides. I'm racist now. I'm just as bad as Donald Trump. No, but anyway, so the thing about censorship that really pisses me off with people is, in America here, we're not afraid of ideas. So being exposed to a quote, bad idea, end quote, doesn't really justify censoring it, I mean, if it's not like by having a right-leaning point of view, like it should be censored as if it's pornographic or something. I mean, come on, that's how they treat it. And I've argued with people on both sides of the spectrum about this, but mainly I argue with leftists about it because they're very heavy on censoring people like Alex Jones. In fact, my former classmate that was defending the sign that we were talking about earlier was in an earlier conversation I had with him. He told me that, that it was okay that they were censoring because I signed a contract. And then when I mentioned Alex Jones, he said, well, I'm okay with people censoring Alex Jones. That guy's an idiot. And it's like, that's not an argument. Dude, just because you disagree with things he says doesn't mean that you have the right to censor him. He's not swearing. He's not being profane. He's not doing anything wrong. He's just saying his point of view. Oh, well, it's misleading. Well, if it's actually misleading, which I don't think it is, but if it is misleading, if what he's saying is actually bad, let it float out there, because the public will judge him rightfully as they do. People have the right to be exposed to ideas, If we weren't allowed to be exposed to ideas, this socialist takeover that's happening would never have occurred, because they would have censored that crap for how bad it is. I mean, socialism and communism are responsible for millions of deaths, and yet they allow it to take place. I mean, absolutely absurd. It's not an argument to say that somebody has a bad idea, therefore you can censor them. That's bullshit. that can get out of hand real quick. And when people aren't allowed to verbally express themselves, things manifest, and then it gets more violent and out of control later on in life. I mean, somebody's going to snap and they're going to do something stupid when you censor them. It's just a fact. And I'm not saying that as in, oh, the right's threatening us and the right is aggressive, because honestly, when you look at the aggression, it's basically been the left lately. But, you know, we could go on and on. I don't want to digress too much here. So yeah, censorship, it's not an okay thing. And, you know, that's what my neighbor is trying to say. This sign is brainwashing people. It's like he doesn't even read what it says, you know. He just doesn't like it because it's got a picture of Uncle Sam on it, and he thinks that America needs to die. You know, it's great. He'll defend our system when it works in his favor, but of course the moment that somebody votes for someone that he doesn't like and that person gets through, oh, this system is corrupt, every excuse ever that could possibly be. So, you know, it's pretty obvious who's the actual brainwashed person here. He's the one who's calling for censorship. Now, you're probably wondering, well, why do we care about this guy? He's just some dumbass in loser county, and, you know, why do we even care about your channel for a fact? Well, that's because I've talked to other people that operate the same way as this kid. Like, it's such a shame. Every time I think about we used to be friends, and every time I think about this, I can't figure out what went wrong. But I've talked to a lot of people that act this way, that think that it's okay to censor the opposition, and that think that America needs to die. It's like, it's a disease in my generation. I don't know who the hell, you know, who the hell gets up every day and thinks that America's a terrible place to live and yet continues to do American things. It just doesn't make any sense to me. So, anyway, I guess I'm kind of digressing, like I said I wasn't going to do. So, we want to talk about, you know, brainwashing. I don't know if you saw the Trump rally speech last night, but it was pretty good. I shouldn't say last night because, you know, this video is going to get dated. But anyway, Trump's speech in Arizona, it was pretty good. And he said a lot of things like that America needs to be united and stuff like that, and that we need to protect our borders, and that many people want that to happen. And every time he spoke about the things that people want, there was cheers. Lots of cheers. You know, thousands of people there cheering him on, and millions across the country. CNN goes ahead and has a segment on this, and it's as hysterical as the segment they had on Charlottesville. They're saying that they had Don Lemonhead up there, and he's saying that, you know, the president's speech was so void of facts and void of wisdom. It's like he's saying that by saying that the country needs to be united, that's void of wisdom. According to Don Lemon, that's void of wisdom. You know, everything the president said was void of wisdom. It's unbelievable how stupid these people are, and they think that we're stupid. Well, the problem is there are a lot of stupid people that do buy this, though. I've talked to them. My neighbor would be one of them. He would have said that, oh yeah, the whole speech was racist. And this is the problem, is that these people that believe this, the lies from MSNBC and CNN, the issue is that they don't actually watch what the president says. They literally just turn on the news, and that's all they believe. So the news has them by the balls or by the brain and is brainwashing the hell out of them. If they turn on CNN and then they hear, oh, Trump was a racist last night, they believe it. They don't even bother to look in to see whether that's true. They believe it. And I've tried to show people this, and I've actually successfully done it, and still had them say, oh, I'll still watch CNN. You know, I had an argument with an older woman on Facebook. I was commenting on one of my family members' posts. I was liking it, and this older woman comes on who's, I guess, a friend of her, of my family members, and she's saying that, you know, you're stupid for supporting Trump, he's a racist, and all the same old rhetoric that we've heard a million times over. And so I decided to have an argument with this person because she's insane. And I started to point out where the news was lying and being manipulative, and I'd post my sources, and this woman says to me, man, you sure are a really strongly opinionated young man. And that was her argument, was that I was a strong opinionated young man. I couldn't get her to look at the sources for like an hour. For an hour we went back and forth, and I kept trying to speak reason to her and show her that you can't just, you know, look away from the truth. It's right here in front of you. And finally she clicks on I assume she clicks on a video. She either clicked on it or read the title, whatever. And she says, oh, well, okay, they did lie there. You know, I guess they did lie, but I'd still trust them. I still trust that they're a credible source because they're on the TV. This was one of her responses to me, was that because they're on the TV, she believes that they're real. Now, there's that old saying that you can't believe everything you see on TV. That doesn't just apply to, you know, TV shows like The Twilight Zone or whatever. It applies to the news, too. The news is so damn manipulative, and we could spend hours pointing out places where they have lied to us for years and years and years, and it doesn't seem to matter to individuals like this person, this 60-year-old woman who, for lack of a better word, just is completely brainwashed. I'm sitting there pointing out all the places where they've lied to her, and she tells me I'd still trust them. Just think about that for a moment. This is what we're dealing with here. She tries to tell me that as I continue to post sources, she tries to tell me, oh, you're just a negative individual. Now, I can never get over when a Democrat says that, because that's not the first time I've been called a negative individual for pointing out where the news has lied. And I don't understand how it's an argument. I told her that's not an argument, and she didn't even understand what that meant. She just responded to me, I'm not arguing with you. Like, no, I'm saying that that's not a point, lady. That's not a point. Saying that I'm a negative person's not a point. Here's the truth. They're lying to you. You have a responsibility now to see it and to acknowledge that it's a lie. For God's sake, you're one of my, you're an elder, and you can't figure this out. Continues to tell me, oh, I'm still going to trust the news because, you know, because I do. I guess I'm biased, as you say. That's what she says to me. And it's like, well, yeah, you're biased. So you basically just completely invalidated your entire argument. Again, you know, these are things that I've said back to her, and it just went on and on and on. And eventually she tells me, oh, well, I'll watch your videos, because we got onto the subject. You know, she's calling me negative, and I say to her, okay, you're the one being negative. You're the one calling the president a racist when he's not. You know, what about all the good things that are coming of his presidency, like the economy recovering and things like that? And what does she hit me with? She hits me with a bunch more negative stuff. Oh, climate change. He doesn't believe in that. Oh, he's still a racist here. All the immigrants. It's just on and on and on. And I'm like, what the hell? Now you're being the negative person. And as soon as she said climate change, I tried to school her on that one. She wouldn't even look at a single thing that I posted, a single scientific thing. Just told me that I was again, heavy opinionated person, as if that's an argument. And they try to say that we're the ones that are anti-logical, that we, the right, are the ones that are anti-science. Yet here they are. Whenever you post a relevant argument or fact, what do? They look away. Always. This is the same type of person that my neighbor, once again, returning to him, is. Same type of person. He would, I would post a fact, and he would just say, oh, I'll look at it later, and then the conversation would never pick up, ever again. I've had that happen in almost every single debate where I couldn't get people to come around. They tell me, oh, well, I'll look at it later, and then they never say another word, and then 2 weeks later, they're back to posting the same garbage. You know, back to posting the same CNN garbage. And you can just keep on disproving it. This being said, returning back to the censorship thing, does that mean that we should censor CNN and MSNBC? Well, no, of course not. They're allowed to be stupid. They can say whatever they want. And, you know, it's better, we're better for it, having them say this stupid crap, because they're destroying themselves. Their ratings are tanking. And even though they're misleading to a couple stupid morons like my neighbor or this woman that I argued with, it doesn't matter, because as long as you can keep on, as long as they keep lying, it's going to keep biting them in the ass. So eventually, these types of people are going to have to come to the realization, though I have a feeling that my neighbor's never going to, because he's kind of the type of person where he'll keep a grudge and he'll keep going even when he's wrong, just to keep his pride. Just to be able to say, oh, I didn't give in to anything, you know, I stayed fighting. So that's kind of the mentality we're dealing with. I feel like a lot of politics these days isn't really about who's right or wrong. It's just a pride battle now. That's kind of what it feels like to me. Like, for instance, you know, back to these statues things. They've been ruining statues all across America, and I'm not sure who's doing this. I don't know if it's paid protesters, if it has anything to do. I'm sure it has to do with the Rothschilds and the George Soros and you know, Rockefeller family. I'm sure it has everything to do with those people because they hate America. But I find it astounding that people would destroy, like, for instance, the Christopher Columbus statue or the Abraham Lincoln statue in Chicago. I can't believe that people would do that. I mean, you're trying to argue that racism is a problem in a country, and then you go ahead and destroy Abraham Lincoln statue? And where's the coverage on that? Where's the news giving a damn about that? You know, they have like a 2-second segment, and then they go on to say, oh, Donald Trump, he was a real racist last night. You know, he said that the country needs to come together and stop being violent. You know, you want to talk about mind-washing? I'm sorry if I'm like going all over the place here, but my brain is racing at 1,000,000 miles a minute here. I'm sure you all saw the reaction that CNN had. They had one of their hosts up there. I'm in tears right now. I'm just amazed. I'm hurt right now. Usually I have a clever thing to say, but I'm hurt right now that the president would suggest that there's violence on both sides when there clearly is violence on both sides. It's amazing how they continue to take things out of context that Donald Trump says. Like, they did this during the entire election, and I argued with people, once again, that actually believed what the news was saying, that actually believed that the president is a racist and a homophobe and all this stuff, and no matter what you do to try and convince them, it just never stops. It goes to show you who's the real mind washers here, because they'll sit there and deny blatant facts when it's right in front of them. They'll believe the ellipses and cutouts and manipulations of the news, and you know, I don't know what the solution is. I really don't. Because, you know, I'd love for CNN to be blocked. I'd love for their speech to be taken down, but that would basically make me a hypocrite, and I'm not going to be a hypocrite. So I think the only real solution is to just continue to point out where they're lying. Because if we don't, if we just start ignoring it, I'll tell you right now, idiots like my neighbor are just going to spread. That idiotic logic is going to continue to spread across the country and go unanswered. And we can't allow that. And we got to keep on pointing it out. I know it's a tiresome job. I know it seems like a never-ending battle, and it kind of is. But until we fix the problem here, you know, we have a responsibility to keep fighting it. I think that's the best thing we can do, is just keep using your voices, guys. Don't stop. Even if it seems like a never-ending fight, don't stop. Keep fighting them. Because this sort of hysterical bullshit that they keep pulling, if it's allowed to go unanswered, eventually it will consume everything. You know, there will still be a voice of reason out there, but it's going to be something that'll never be able to get up off the ground and prove its point. And we can't allow that, you know. We got to keep going with the truth. So, thanks for listening, guys. Sorry if I got a little rambly here today. It's been a lot of weeks since I've put together a video, and I apologize for that as well. Honestly, I've been really busy, so you'll have to expect that there's going to be times where I can't make videos. Doesn't really matter since the channel's so young right now anyway. I don't know why this guy is slowing so far down. Okay, he's actually stopping here. Oops. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. You can follow me on Twitter at motor_show1776, and you know, like, watch, subscribe, forward this stuff around, give me some pointers here and there. Thanks again for taking the ride, and until next time, take it easy.